In Europe and the United States, there are few areas of life left untouched by the pandemic. The toll on human health has at times been overwhelming. Economies locked down, societies frozen. But a survey by US-based Pew Research Center reveals very different public perceptions of how well Western governments have handled the pandemic.
In Germany, for instance, 77% of the public thinks that their country has done a good job handling the coronavirus thus far. In the other three countries in our survey, the US, the UK, and France, opinions are a little more split. So for instance, in the US, 58% believe that their country has done a bad job of handling the pandemic.
The research was conducted in November and December 2020, before US President Joe Biden took office in January, and just as vaccination programs were beginning to roll out in the United States and Britain. The European Union has been far slower in getting its vaccination programs underway. At this clinic in Paris, there has been frustration over the delays.
We're mobilized. We're ready to welcome vulnerable people, except that we don't have the vaccines. Here we're in a fully equipped center, but an empty one. And we're, of course, angry.
France and other EU states have argued the vaccine approval process must not be rushed, fearing a loss of public trust. France has one of the highest levels of so-called vaccine skepticism in the world. A recent study suggested just over 40% of the adult population intend to get the shot. President Emmanuel Macron recently rejected calls for mandatory vaccines. The Pew survey questioned respondents on their attitudes to compulsory vaccinations.
In three of the countries where we asked that question, most people do not find that an acceptable idea. So for instance, 75% in France do not like the idea of a government-mandated vaccine. The UK was the one country where we found more acceptance of the idea of a government-mandated vaccine. 62% find that an acceptable proposition.
In Britain, the vaccination programme is accelerating, with over 12 million people having now received their first dose. Britain has also suffered the highest number of coronavirus deaths in Europe. Local elections scheduled for May will offer another measure of public approval for the government's handling of the pandemic. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.